So right now we've got a simple formula for weighted average cost of capital, but the actual detailed formula includes a few things. So what are we missing so far? First thing we're missing is taxes, and it's going to impact each of the components differently. And second thing we're missing is preferred shares versus common shares. Right now in the formula, we've just grouped them together as equity, and the two are different, and they often will have different costs associated with them. So the reason taxes is important is because debt and equity are treated differently from a tax perspective. The cost of debt, which is the interest that you pay, is tax deductible. So then in reality, you're not really paying the total interest cost as your cost, because you're getting some of it back from the government as a deduction. So your real cost of debt is going to be whatever the after-tax cost of debt is for you, which is RD times 1 minus the tax rate, which is the after-tax cost of debt. So that is substituted into the formula. With equity, it's a different story. Equity is not deductible. Equity will pay out dividends, and dividends are taxed, and they are not deductible when the company pays them out. So regardless of whether you're dealing with preferred shares or common shares, the equity component is not going to be deductible. So now if we adjust the cost of capital formula to include these two things, what we're going to do is look at the portion of the company financed by each of the individual types of capital. The debt would be D over V, the percentage from preferred is P over V, and the percentage from common shares, we'll just leave it as E over V, equity. Now for the debt, we multiply that by the after-tax cost of debt, which is RD times 1 minus the tax rate. And for preferred shares, we multiply it by the cost of preferred, RP, and for common shares, it's RE. So important thing to note here is that RP and RE are going to be different. They're both equity, but the shareholders have different expected returns. So each of these, when you take the percentage that the percentage of the company that's financing by that type of capital and multiply it by that rate, and you combine it all together, that's going to give you your total weighted average cost of capital. And essentially that number will change if any of the costs change, or if the tax rate changes, or if the percentage that you get allocated from each of the different types will change. So if a company changes its capital structure and goes from 50-50 to 60-40, or increases preferred shares, you can see that the formula is going to result in a totally different cost of capital number. And the way we started all of this out was to say, well, what is cost of capital? That's the discount rate that you're using for an NPV analysis, or the hurdle rate. But in simple non-financial terms, it's going to be the percentage that is your minimum expected return. So it's always going to be expressed as a percentage, and any investment that you make in a company has to provide a return that's higher than this percentage if they want to add shareholder value. If they don't provide a return that's higher than this number, then making that investment actually is damaging to the company and probably will destroy shareholder value.